Welcome to TypeScript FM, the friendly podcast for TypeScript developers where we bring you news, updates, and interviews from the community with plenty of tomfoolery sprinkled in. I'm your host, Kamran Ayub, and I'm joined by my co-host and best bud, Eric Onerheim. Together, we're the two TypeScript fools. Welcome to the show.
Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello. How are you, Eric?
I'm doing good.
Hey, I'm going to start first.
You're going to go first.
Because I always let you go first.
Yeah, that's true.
And today...
It's all about me.
Today is Monday.
Today is Monday.
And on Monday, Kamran gets to go first. Because guess what? I had a bachelor party. Not my bachelor party. I went to my brother's bachelor party this last weekend. And it was a lot of fun. And it was about what you would expect for a bunch of gamers getting together. So we played some Halo. We played some Super Smash. We went to a Japanese restaurant, Korean barbecue place, hot pot place. Yeah, it was really good. Yeah, it was all you can eat. And so you could, grill your own meat and pick your own soup and stuff like that. So it was a lot of fun. And then, there was drinks to be had. But otherwise, I think we played Mario Kart World, we played Super Smash, and stayed up till like 2 a.m.
That's so awesome. I love that.
So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think my bachelor party, we went bowling.
Nice.
That was, I think you were there, weren't you?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, we were bowling. And then other things happened. I drank a lot. I don't drink anymore, but at the time I drank a lot.
Yeah.
And as is the way on bachelor parties.
So really happy for him. The wedding's actually this week. So
sweet.
Thursday's rehearsal and Friday will be the actual wedding. Other than that, last Friday, so I finished my course, by the way. It's not going to be published when this recording goes out. So I'll let you know next week when it's actually published.
Congrats, dude. You've been crunching pretty hard on that.
Yeah. So as okay, I'm done with the course. I took Friday off. I mean, I work for myself, so I can choose my own hours, but I basically took Friday off. I went to lunch with a friend, and then we went hiking at a local regional park, and it was great. Really enjoyed it. It was nice to get outside, and the weather here has been cold, but then on Friday it was 65, so it was perfect for going for a hike.
It's really nice on Friday. I went out for a run on Friday.
Nice.
Really nice.
So what you been up to then?
I have been so busy. I've either been asleep or I've been working. And it hasn't been a lot of fun. So it's like, oh, is it fun work? No, it's not. It's work.
Yeah.
It's been extremely busy. But on top of that, the contributors on Excalibur have been doing really good work. Chris has made the Excalibur playground look really nice.
Yeah, he's been doing some awesome work, and he's working on getting it nicely embedded into the docs too.
Yeah, it's so cool. It's just so wild how good it's gotten and so quickly. It's so cool.
Mm-hmm.
And then the other thing before the show, I was talking to you about how I was drooling over the BenQ programming monitors that I don't need. They're very tempting. I'm very tempted, Frodo.
You do
very
need
tempted.
It. You do need one.
I'm gonna have to talk to my partner about it. Maybe for Christmas. Well,
I told you I really like my ultra wide. I have a 38 inch, but it's not for everybody. So early on with Windows 10, the window management wasn't great, but both with Mac OS and then now with Windows 11, window management is really nice. And actually, if you have Windows, I highly recommend getting the Power Toys for Windows because it has something called zones, focus zones or something like that.
Oh, fancy zones.
Fancy zones. Yeah, thank you. All right. Should we get into the news for the week of November 10th?
We should.
We got some TypeScript news on the heels of our TypeScript 6.7 episode.
Daniel Rosenwasser on Blue Sky threw out there a couple of days ago that they're hoping for a TypeScript 6.0 release early 2026. Think Feb or earlier, and then 7.0 shortly after. Oh boy.
Boy.
Merry Christmas.
It's too bad they couldn't have that on the episode because that would have been sweet.
That would have been cool.
Probably just got the word right afterwards.
Yeah, probably. But we'll link to that Bleet so you can check that out. But that's all we really saw this week.
Yeah, there was a little bit of TypeScript Go stuff, but it was mostly stability stuff. But we do have some Node news. So remember last week we talked about type stripping being marked stable, and that was merged in like basically while we were recording the episode and then was actually released. So that is in Node 25.2 now. And that's the current Node version. You can expect it probably to hit 24 in another week or two, and then 22, in a couple weeks after that. And the other thing is, I might have said that it was unflagged, but that's not entirely accurate. So there are two ways that features can be introduced into Node. If it's flagged, that means that you have to pass like a -- experimental flag. And that's how type stripping was introduced in Node. So you had to always pass -- experimental strip types. But in 23.6, it was unflagged, and that means that it became enabled by default, and then it was replaced with a no experimental strip types. But that didn't mean that it was stable. So it was only in 25.2 that type stripping was marked as stable, meaning that they removed the experimental terminology on the flag to just make it -- no strip types if you want to disable type stripping. So there's a nuance there between unflagging a feature, which doesn't mean that it's stable necessarily, and then marking something as stable, which means marking it as not experimental.
Mm-hmm. And thank you, Rob Palmer, for explaining that on Blue Sky, because that caught my attention, and I was like, "Whoa, wait a second, these are different."
Yes,
because I definitely conflated unflagged with stable in my mind, at least. So I'm sure that other people did as well.
Yeah, I probably did, and I probably said it out loud too. But yes, what we mean is now type stripping is officially stable, and so it's enabled by default, and it's not experimental anymore in 25.2.
Yeah, so go tell your enterprise architect to ship it to prod now.
They're not going to because it's not LTS, so
That's right,
it's going to hit LTS in like a week or two. Then you can.
LTS.
Yeah.
SchmelTS.
Yep, exactly. Okay, we've got a couple exciting like new emerging things to talk about related to TypeScript. So the first thing that I saw, and this one I saw on Blue Sky from Rob Palmer, and it was a talk at JSConf Japan, and it's about Andromeda, which is a new TypeScript native runtime, and that's TypeScript and JavaScript. So you can just think of this as an alternative to Node.js and Deno. Now, the interesting thing about it is that it's not using V8. It's actually built using a new JavaScript engine called Nova, and it's written in Rust. So it's not V8 and C++. So it's basically a Rust JavaScript engine, which is
very interesting.
That's pretty big news.
Yeah, that's pretty wild. And they certainly have their work cut out for them because JavaScript really wants to be objecty. So, squaring that circle in Rust that I mentioned is very difficult. Now, it's still early days.
Yes.
The engine is still limited, and it's only passing about 78% of test 262, which is the ECMAScript. You are a JavaScript dialect test. So not quite there, but exciting stuff to have more engines out there.
That's right. And speaking of new engines, this is not the only Rust engine that's on the block. The other one I just saw actually today is a new one called Brimstone, and it's another JavaScript engine written from scratch in Rust. So this is not a runtime. This is the actual just the engine, and it passes 97% of test 262. So I think the only two things that aren't implemented yet are shared array buffers and atomics, I believe. But it's, again, still like very experimental and a work in progress. So it's neither of these are ready for production, but they're really cool. Cool. It's cool that this is happening because you might have remembered that for a few episodes now, I've been saying, wouldn't it be cool? Maybe in the future we'll see like a TypeScript native engine, like in a TypeScript native runtime, so that we can maybe start to see runtime types and stuff like that. Now, neither of these do that, but these are new engines on the block and possible new runtimes on the block. So you know what that means? That means that things might start to get a little bit more competitive.
Yeah, this is all good. I feel like I want to write one now. I don't have the time to, but I'm kind of inspired.
Yeah. So it'll be really interesting to see where these go. I mean, obviously it's so early right now. It's not like they're going to have a ton of adoption, but it'll be really cool to see like how the performance and stuff shakes out, because we were kind of talking about how like V8 and C++ are optimized really, really well. Like they're very, very fast. So just because these are written in Rust doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be faster, at least right now. But maybe in the future they might be. And it's also interesting because they're written from scratch. So they're not dependent on a lot of the, I don't know how you would say it, but like cruft that, has accumulated over the years with these other engines. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how that shakes out.
You put this one on here, but I really want to talk about this.
I did. I put this on here for you, my friend. Tell me what this is. Tell the audience.
Okay. So this is Glide, an extensible keyboard-focused web browser, and it's very Neovim inspired.
Yes.
In fact, looking at all of the extensibility points, it looks like how you write Neovim plugins, doing like key maps, like normal mode or insert mode, and then setting up your key chords for like navigation. And I watched the video. I'm switching to this. I'm switching to this like tonight. I'm gonna install Glide, and this is how I'm gonna browse the web from now on.
Yeah, so
it's just so much faster.
So you watched the video, I did not. So maybe you can explain to me. It looked like how this works is you can basically write like little scripts that are specific to each website, and then they're like keyboard shortcuts you can use to invoke them. So you can hack sites, almost like you can create customizations.
Yeah. So like in Neovim, a lot of the times you spend, or in Vim in general, like you spend, or Emacs, you spend a lot of time like customizing your editor.
Mm-hmm.
It's one of the other great developer traps. What did I do today? Did you do any work? No, I was fiddling with my editor config so I could be like 0.2% faster. But what's cool is you can customize like shortcuts per website. You can do lots of really interesting things that you would do like in Neovim.
Mm-hmm.
Like, for example, you might write a key map that is like GC, which would be go to Google Calendar, and it would go find the first tab that is Google Calendar in your browser and open that up.
Cool.
And then make that the active tab is one of their examples.
Nice.
They also have this hint mode, which is a thing I use like if you've used flash.nvim, it's very similar. Or if you used Vimium in the extension in Chrome, where you press a key command and then you get a bunch of like little hints that show up on the screen, and it allows you to jump focus.
Nice.
Or interact with things on the screen.
Yeah.
With just a couple of key presses.
That's pretty sweet.
Which is pretty slick.
I know people that are like obsessed with like auto hotkey and things like that for doing macros just like with Windows or like the OS. And this seems like another level deeper of like you can make macros and stuff for individual sites, or even just like automate your browser to like do stuff.
Yeah. And what was cool in here that I don't think I underscored is that when you write these plugins, you can also execute other programs. So like in their other example here, they added a key combo for cloning a GitHub repo.
Mm-hmm.
And it will just invoke Git and clone a repo for you.
Now that's cool.
When you're on a website.
Yeah.
So you can just do a key combo and clone a repo.
Yep. I could see this being super, super handy if you love to create like shortcuts for stuff.
Yeah. I'm sold. I'm so sold. I'm so sold.
Yep.
I'm downloading this right now.
I went through a workshop that was it's like a 5-day like systematize yourself kind of workshop. And key macros and shortcuts were one of the primary things that we talked about. Like when you create like a checklist to do stuff. Like for example, I have a checklist to do my quarterly taxes, like for my business, because it's pretty procedural. And this could be super helpful for like shortening steps for a lot of that stuff. Like fill in my tax information because it just runs on my machine. I'm not giving it to, it's not some SaaS that's running an automation browser. It's actually just running in my browser. So that's pretty sweet.
Yeah, that's super cool.
Cool. All right. Should we move on to some community highlights? What's going on in the community?
Yeah. Well, our good friend who runs Ludum, Mike Kasperzak, is looking for work. So we've linked his resume and LinkedIn post. Super awesome dude who's been doing Ludum for years now. If you've ever done that, that's a global game jam where twice a year, like the internet comes out and makes a video game over the course of 72 hours. And he's been running that for years, and it's a staple of the community. So definitely check it out. Definitely throw him any leads that you have.
Yeah. I mean, his body of work speaks for itself, or should. He's very versatile. And like he can work in low-level stuff and high-level languages. So that's really cool. Next up, I saw on Reddit, one of the hot posts this past week was a blog / article / visualization called Visual Types, a set of animated TypeScript concepts. This thing is hot. This is by Kit Langton. So if you go to types.kitlangton.com, you'll see it. It is super cool. I maintain a GitHub repository called Awesome Dev Ed, which is like for developer education. This is going to go on it because this is super cool. So you can interact with the snippets, and you can also browse up through your keyboard. So when you go through, like, you can like type left and right, and then it'll animate the code snippet. It's the coolest thing.
Oh, that the sound effects are choice.
Yes, it has sound effects.
Oh.
Yeah, this is going in my bookmarks, and it is going on my my Awesome Dev Ed repository. It's got the joke that I use is it's got that umami flavor. It's umami flavored content. It's really good.
Yeah, this is just such a vibe. This is so good.
Yeah.
Well, and what this really does, like apart from being just a really well put together website, is it shows you visually how types work in TypeScript. So they kind of have this kind of flow diagram with some prose along with it, and it shows you how different constructs in TypeScript, interact. So, for example, they have like how the extends keyword works. If something extends another type, how does that flow through the type system as it's evaluating?
Yeah, this is actually a really great way to help you visualize in your mind when you're like debugging TypeScript or writing types. Because I feel like this is sometimes how I see types, like when I'm working, but this is like an explicit visualization of that, which is super cool.
Yeah. And it's just fun to play with.
It is really fun to play with. I gotta stop doing it so that we can go on to the next thing. Alrighty, next up we've got David Gardiner, who was at .NET Conf recently, in the past week or two, and he gave a talk on taking the .NET out of .NET Aspire. And he has a blog post to go along with it, so we'll link to that. It's Aspire with Python, React, Rust, and Node apps. And I assumed that was only for .NET, but David proves that it's not, and that it's actually not a ton of work to do other types of apps using Aspire.
Yeah, and they have an example here of doing a polyglot app with Python, React front end, with Vite, with a Node API, with a Rust API, with a looks like Mongo database as well. 2 Mongo databases in this example, which is pretty wild. And the UI for it looks a lot like your Docker desktop.
Yep.
Or your Podman.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the easiest way to visualize it if you're still like, I don't get it. It's sort of like, it's like Docker desktop, but with some extra stuff that is specific to like working with services. And yeah, it's pretty cool. It's like a dashboard, kind of. That's what it looks like. So you should go check that out. And I probably am going to check this out because I think it'd be cool to use Aspire, because I assumed that it was only for modern stuff for .NET, but looks like maybe I could use it. All right. Eric, did you know that way back in the old days of like 1997, before ECMAScript was a thing, before it was called ECMAScript, there was a fellowship that got together and was trying to figure out what should we call this thing because we can't call it JavaScript. And some of the names included calling it Cool Script, Rad Script, which I like, and Easy Script with like a capital EZ. And then they eventually decided on ECMAScript. But there was a talk at JSConf Japan. So again, this is from Rob Palmer. He attended a talk where one of the standards body members talked about how ECMAScript came about. And you should take a look at a lot of the alternative names that were originally considered because some of them are really funny.
Yeah. Well, I'm just sad that I can't refer to myself as a rad programmer.
Yeah, I know.
Like, that would be really cool.
Yeah. Are you a rad developer? Uh-huh.
A rad developer.
Oh, man. That's pretty funny. All right. Next up, we have some library watches. This one would go well with our Ormed and Dangerous episode, if you want to look back on that, where we talked about ORMs. And what we came away with is that me and Eric are sort of cynical on ORMs. Like, that's basically what it came down to. We kind of prefer being able to write raw SQL, but also try to get some of those strongly typed guarantees. And so there was a few ORMs that kind of met that criteria, but this one is not an ORM, but it is a SQL builder, and it's called Squeeel. Squeeel, like how the Primogen, how the Primogen pronounces SQL. It's Squeeel. So this lets you write raw SQL statements and then gives you types back.
Yeah,
which is super cool.
And template types for the win.
Yep, template types. So you can write your raw SQL statements and keep them strongly typed. And then you can use it with whatever, ORM you want to use it with. So this is pretty nice. So you can go take a look at that. That's by Soren Holst Hansen.
Super cool. Next on the list, Library Watch, we have DomoActors.
Yeah, I put this one on here. I saw it on Reddit. And when I saw it, I immediately thought of you, Eric, because this is like an actors model library. So you can model actors. And if you're not familiar with like the actor model, it's like I don't know how to describe it really, but it's sort of like an architectural approach to creating like stateful entities. And it's used a lot in game development, but it's not specific to game dev. But you kind of organize your entities into these actor classes, and they have behaviors and things like that. And so this is kind of a TypeScript approach that you can do.
Yeah. And one thing that like the actor computing model, like which is I think where this is going for is the idea is like it's super fault tolerant. So you have like these actor objects, which are these agents that are like kind of lightweight and they pass messages between each other and they can fail and come back. And they pass messages between each other to communicate. I think if I'm not mistaken, a lot of like, I think it's Eiffel. The old telephone networks are built on an actor model. If I could be completely wrong about that. But the future me will be real sad that he was wrong about that. But it's kind of like object orientation to its purest insanity, where like all of these things are maybe working on each actor is working on like a different thread even. So like that's the kind of like concurrency we're talking about here.
Yeah, I believe, and I'm pretty sure that this is true, Microsoft created something called Project Orleans, and it was an actor model. And Halo, at least some of the Halo games were built on that for multiplayer. So basically each multiplayer game was an actor, and so it had its own state and stuff like that. But apparently it really helped them scale up their multiplayer. Yeah, so I think there's some use cases for it. I haven't used it really too much, so I probably sound like a fool when I talk about it, but yeah, you can go check it out.
Yeah, this is definitely something if you are in need of an actor model for solving one of your problems and you like TypeScript, this might be something to check out.
Yeah. Okay, cool. The next one is Contour 2.0, which is music composition as code. And you put this on here, so I'll let you explain to me what this is, but it sounds cool.
Yeah, so if you've there's been a lot of like I don't know if you've watched any of the live coding as it is for like you're writing music live.
Yep.
But this is that. You write music with TypeScript.
Cool.
And it's super cool. So like for example, they have you can write a melody from like notation. So you'd be like C4, E4, G4, C5, and then you can take that melody and you transpose it up 5 semitones. You can reverse it, and then you can double its speed, and then you can play it. And you can add a whole bunch of stuff. You can sample things. You can write files to like MIDI files. So it's super cool.
Yeah, we had a it's kind of defunct now, but we had the Twin Cities Code Camp, and one of the organizers would do live coding music, and so it was pretty cool to watch.
Yeah, so if you need a creative outlet to write music in, or perhaps you just want to add, you just want to write music for a game, this is super cool, and it's type safe. So there we are.
Type safe music. Nice.
Next up on the library watch is something that I needed like a year ago. So it's an NPM package called Hashery. Just had a new version released, which can hash arbitrary objects to like arbitrary like hashes. So like if you need to be able to either fingerprint an object, maybe you need to sign an object to make sure it's not tampered with. Like any kind of hashing that you need to do, this can do it. And it's not like the worst hashing algorithm that which is JSON.stringify.
Yeah, definitely done that.
Compared to other object JSON.stringify. So this can be a quick way of doing equality testing between like large complex objects, is if you can hash them to the same hash, so the same thing, that kind of idea. Now, I needed this because I have a font cache and I have to keep track of all of the parameters that can make a font look different or take up different space.
Yep.
Because it turns out fonts are like probably one of the more expensive things to do because you have to like write each glyph and then measure it, and it's extremely expensive. So if you can cache it, it'll save you a lot of time and effort. Well, I made the worst hashing function to do it. So I might be looking at this as my hash function for keeping track of cache entries.
That's cool. I've definitely had to do similar things when we were doing TanStack query. Before it was called that, it was just React query, and we needed a way to hash queries to cache them. So again, caching. And the default one was JSON.stringify. Now, the funny part is that what would happen is that if you passed in parameters in a different order, it would treat it as a separate query invocation, even though it was the exact same output as a different function with a different input parameter sequence. So I overwrote it and made a different JSON.stringify that would order properties alphabetically to make sure that they were always in the right order. But, this would have been a better solution.
Hashing is super useful for caching.
Yeah.
So definitely check it out. Hashery. It just had a release, and it looks pretty slick, and it looks like it's pretty popular. In the last 4 days, it's got almost 250,000 downloads.
Sweet.
So clearly, everyone needs this.
It's in demand. Cool. Last but not least, we've got a new tool watch. So in the spirit of brand new things that you shouldn't use in production but are really cool, this is called Ezno, pronounced Fresno but with the EZ. It is a Rust TypeScript type checker. So not an engine, an actual type checker that's written in Rust. And
bold.
Yeah, it's pretty sweet. You can take a look at it. It is written from scratch, and I'll just read a little bit about like what it is. So it's a type checker for JavaScript, usable through a CLI, and there is also an LSP in the works. It checks programs with guaranteed type safety, which means no runtime type errors as long as the definitions are sound. That's pretty cool. And it's aimed at soundness and tracing for better static analysis, and it has an imperative type system that tracks and evaluates the side effects of functions and control flow structures. So it's similar to an interpreter, but it acts with types instead of values, and it doesn't actually run, I/O or side effects or anything. So It's not fully compatible, and it's not meant to be on parity with TSC. It has some different behaviors, but this is pretty cool. Like, this is kind of what I'm talking about, of like maybe we'll see like some kind of subset of TypeScript or some sort of fork of it that has like guaranteed type safety, which means that maybe that gets us closer to runtime types. I don't know. So anyway, this is pretty cool. But yeah, it's definitely experimental, but it was created, it's been in the works for about a year, and you can just go and see what it's like. There's a few blog posts about it.
Yeah, pretty wild. I don't envy the task of trying to keep up with TypeScript.
Yeah, well, maybe that's part of the design plan, is that it's not going to. Like, maybe that's I think it's on the not goals list. Like, it's a non-goal to be one-to-one parity.
Good.
Yeah, so this is not something that's trying to be a drop-in replacement, and so maybe it'll have a little bit more latitude with what it'll do and its timeline. So, yeah,
they have a good like comparison tool to show what actually is different between the two tools. So while I think perhaps the philosophical stance is similar, I think the practical one is quite different.
Yep. So it's pretty sweet though. We'll see. We'll watch it, and we'll see. We'll let you know if anything cool changes with it. And we can close out the community highlights with a Bleet of the week, and this one you found.
Yeah, I found a Bleet of the week from Arya Winningson, and Arya says, if JavaScript is a basement that the browser holds you hostage in, then TypeScript is that same basement after an interior designer has had their way with it, which I thought was hilarious. I love that.
Oh, man, that's funny.
That was super cool. All right, come on, lay your cool links on me.
Yeah, so I had a problem I needed to solve last week, and it was kind of a distraction, but it sped up my local developer feedback loop. So I use Docker to develop locally because I have a complex app that I work in. And so having it just spun up in Docker services with Docker Compose is really nice. But the problem was that for some reason, one of the projects was sending a gigabyte of build context to Docker. And I don't know what Docker does when it sends build context, but it doesn't just ship it, because that would be pretty quick. It must compress it or something, because it takes a while. So it would take like 45 seconds to send like a gig of build context. So I went down the rabbit hole. I'm like, what is using up all this space? And I figured out some of it on my own. So I was able to use like a directory listing tool on Windows to like visualize, here's the subtree of directories. Oh, okay, I forgot to ignore this one, or I forgot to ignore this one in my Docker ignore file. Well, finally I got to a point where I'm like, okay, there's way too many like directories that I'm not sure like which ones are being included. And so I basically asked ChatGPT to write me a tool that would do it. And first I searched online for like Stack Overflow, and people were like, here are some ways you can do it. One of them involved using Docker itself. Like you would basically create a blank container and then get the directory list, and then you could run like du or dh or whatever it is to output the directory tree. And I was like, that's cool, but I have a very big directory tree, and I would like sort of a recursive visualization of that. And so I had ChatGPT write me a PowerShell script, and it worked after some prompting, because it didn't work right away. And I had to massage it a little bit to get it into the right format that I wanted. But once I did, it spit out the right stuff, and it helped me figure out what else I needed to ignore. So nice. Anyway, super helpful. And then after I posted it on Blue Sky, someone had replied and was like, you could do it this way and this way. And I was like, yeah, I'm pretty sure that you could do this a little bit more efficiently. So I went down that rabbit hole, and sure enough, I came up with like a couple one-liners, actually 2 lines of code that you can run if you have Bash on Windows and like Linux containers. You could definitely do it using native Docker commands. So I also put that in my gist. And then I also created a Copilot prompt. So you can just have Copilot do it for you if you have the right prerequisites installed. That way you don't have to do the analysis yourself.
That's super cool.
Yeah. So it was pretty fun. It was a nice morning distraction. But yeah, I basically, the end result is I got my build context down from 1 gigabyte to 17 megabytes.
I imagine that's a lot faster to iterate on.
Yes, much faster. Nuxt up. Nuxt put out a building an MCP server blog post. So on the Nuxt blog, you can learn about how they built their MCP server. And this is something that I bookmarked for my future reading because I've been thinking about an Excalibur MCP server.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd like to know how other people have been doing it. So yeah. And it goes into a lot of detail for some of their design considerations and things like that for how to build a proper docs MCP server. And then finally, this one was more for you, but I've found it. It's called WXT. It's a modern web extensions framework. And I know because you've talked to me about how painful it is to write browser extensions. This is built on Vite and apparently is pretty nice to work with. So I thought you might be interested in that.
Yeah, this is pretty cool. I'm using the Parcel web extension dealy bopper, I believe is the technical term.
Mm-hmm.
But this looks pretty cool, and I'm kind of into it. I might try this out. Well, my cool links, I've been binge watching all of PolyMatt on YouTube, and he goes and restores vintage hardware. And recently, he went and built a floppy disk from scratch, a working floppy disk from scratch.
Awesome. That's so cool.
Milled out of aluminum, and he even like engineered the magnetic media.
Wow.
But he's a joy to watch. It's very much like the Bob Ross of technology. So yeah, definitely check that out.
That blows my mind. How do you do the magnetic stuff?
You just gotta watch the video.
Oh man.
But it's pretty wild.
That's cool.
What to do to make it work. The tolerances are definitely pretty tight.
Yeah.
So it's pretty impressive that a person in their home shop is able to do this.
That's cool.
A new Neovim plugin has hit the stream.
Everybody's talking about it. What are they talking about?
Quicker.mvim. If you are like me and you want to manipulate your quick fix list and you want to treat your quick fix list like a buffer, I have good news for you. Quicker.mvim. Same fellow who made oil.mvim, where you can treat your directories like a buffer, which is pretty great.
I don't know what that means.
Well, yeah, basically, if you want to delete things out of the list, it's awesome.
Okay.
Because like the quick fix list, by default, this is the list. You know, you made a search, you added it to the list. Well, too bad you can't edit the list. Now you can edit the list. And also, this gives you like syntax highlighting in your list, gives you a bunch of niceties. You can also like expand items in the list and see like context around the item. It's very nice. It's a winner.
Nice.
Next, we have on my quick fix list, my cool links list, GemShell, which is a new way of doing like packaging up JavaScript into like apps. And this one's specifically like focused on like doing web games as like executables. They do have a free version. There's also a paid version, but person who's working on this joined our Discord. Spaghettis, I believe, is the way you pronounce their username, but it's pretty cool. And it kind of takes a lot of the kind of pain out of doing like an Electron wrap setup or a Tauri setup. It's just like, I have my JavaScript. Just let me throw it into something and it'll just do the wizard for you, which is pretty cool.
Nice. That's cool. Very good. So you can create little executable games from it.
Send them to your friends.
Nice.
And then you can impress them and be like, "Oh, I sent you an exe." Like, what?
Or, we have someone that's actually built a social network on top of Excalibur where you can share little games.
That's right.
Yeah. That's pretty cool too.
I will find the link to that.
Yep. You should come into our Discord and then you can go check it out. It's still like in alpha, beta stages, but it's really cool because you build the games in Excalibur, but he has like a wrapper around it, so you don't have to do all the boilerplate. So you can just write a little game and put it on your social feed, and people can like comment on it and stuff like that. It's like a gaming social network, which is pretty fun.
found it. It's xelly.games, and they have a lot of little fun samples.
Yep, I played a little Tetris game. Cool. All right. Well, time for our Minnesota long goodbye. What are your closing thoughts here?
I think my closing thoughts are there are a lot of JavaScript, TypeScript engines and runtimes popping up that aren't V8.
Mm-hmm.
That aren't V8 based, because everything is just kind of like, I've got a new thing as a wrapper on an existing engine, right? And now we have a lot of these novel ones being developed. Two being developed in Rust right now, which is pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And
I think this is going to be this. I mean, what this will do is ultimately make JavaScript, TypeScript faster, and like more competition. It's a race, and we'll have more ability to do more things in more places, because V8 really is meant for the web. It's meant for long running JavaScript processes.
Yeah.
And things like Porphyr and others, you start to get into like, what can we do with like ahead of time? Exciting stuff.
Yeah, it feels like it's getting a little bit closer to that ideal in my head of like, I'm thinking of like a backend runtime that can just natively run TypeScript with like runtime types. And like, I know, and I don't use Rust, but I know enough about Rust to know that it's great for server backend apps, right? So it seems like it could be a good fit for that type of thing. I don't think we're there yet, but these seem like little baby steps like that direction.
Yeah.
It'll be interesting to see like how this affects the landscape. Like what are the other engines going to do or not do, like in response to these. Like we've got Nova, the JavaScript engine that's written in Rust. We have Brimstone, which is also written from scratch in Rust, and then Allied.dev, which is a runtime but built on Graal VM, which is Kotlin, right? So it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah. What is it? Always bet on JavaScript.
Not anymore.
Always bet on TypeScript.
You posted that meme.
Yeah,
that was funny. I like it. Cool. Well, it's getting late, so it's probably time to say good night.
Yep. Good night.
Bye-bye. Hi, everyone. This is Kamran. I just wanted to thank you for listening to the show, and we hope you enjoyed the episode. If you want to see the show notes, you can check your podcast player or go to TypeScript.fm, where you'll see a list of all the episodes. If you enjoyed the show, tell your friends, and please rate it on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, because that's how the show grows and gets discovered by more people. If you want to suggest news or a project that should be covered, or just want to say hi, email us at feedback@typescript.fm. If you want to follow us on social, we're both active on Blue Sky. I'm at Kamranicus.com, and Eric is at ericonerheim.com. You can also follow the show directly at typescript.fm.